Welcome to the Goodwood Show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today, slightly alone. My co-host couldn't make it today, but it's fine. I'm a big boy now. I can do this. I have the pleasure to have KR. He's kind of can say CEO, something like that. Let's say owner
There you go.
of the project Secret Sphinx. Um, and if you can do a little intro of who are you and what is Secret Sphinx, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, my name's KR, and I'm glad to be here and great to be on this show. I mean, I've seen a few of the prior episodes, and it's been really informative. So it's
Thank
great
you.
to add my 2 cents to that conversation and everything that we're doing here in crypto and Web3. Yeah, so my name's KR. I am the current owner of the Secret Sphinx Society project. We are a pretty old NFT project from, I guess, old now, right? From 2021,
Oh,
22. Early 22 actually was when we minted. But yeah, I currently am the owner slash custodian is kind of how I would say I manage the project now. And that's pretty much all I've got. Um,
so what is the history? Because I know that you are not originally the owner of the project, so you're not the founder, right?
Correct. Yeah, I actually was one of the mentors originally. I came across the project. Yeah, like we all were in 21, sort of playing the NFT space, and I came across the project and found it interesting. And I was actually minting, and then I was in the Discord after mint, chatting it up with everyone and kind of giving project insights, sort of little tidbits, that kind of stuff. And the original trio of founders actually had one guy who was supposed to be the community manager leave, and I just happened to be a natural fit. So they came to me and they were like, "Hey, can you, just run the Discord, do some kind of stuff like that?" And it slowly turned into me doing more and more. And I eventually, um, when the two other founders left to do other things, I just took over and managed the project from there. And that was probably like 6 months or so after mint.
But was like everything was passed to you in a friendly way, right? There was no disputes or any issues, or
Yeah, exactly. It was super friendly. Sort of what you would consider like a community takeover in a way. But um, yeah, where that was in the timeline of the NFT space, it was very clearly on the decline. I think of the hype cycle in some ways. As you know, like into 22 and 23, that bear cycle was pretty vicious for the NFT space, and so
Mhm.
it was sort of a transitory period where the original founders just left to do other things, and so I stuck around to manage the project, and I had some new ideas and some fresh stuff, and that was sort of it was an easy transition.
But what was your background for them to actually give the project to you? Did they know actually your background, or was just because your activity on the project, your interests?
Yeah, it was mostly just my interest. I took an interest in the some of the lore that they were creating with it, and hey, if you're unfamiliar with the project, it was very, very secretive to start, and there were like a few puzzles that
Yeah,
dropped, and yeah, you had to do the puzzles to get like access to the mint. So it was pretty cool, and I'm naturally someone who likes puzzles and games, so that drew me in right away. So I just had this like general excitement about what they were doing, and it was kind of easy to parlay that into being a part of the team.
and how was the transition from them to you in terms of, was it hard then to be the owner now of the project, or you didn't notice much difference? Everything was easy, or what was the your
Well, as you
experience?
know, being an owner of a project, especially in that time, was quite difficult. Considering like the NFT space being very dependent on hype cycles and very
The meta,
dependent
right?
on, yeah, exactly. So, if you want to think of back then, I don't know how many of the viewers were trading NFTs back then, but stuff like Boku Dragons and the tokens that they had, where you could, man, I know Mindfolk had a token as well back
Yeah.
then, and it was a huge part of the project. So we also had one that's what we experimented with. We actually had two tokens, but Yeah, it was sort of a chase for doing things that dominated the meta in order to keep your project relevant. For people unfamiliar with the Secret Sphinx Society, our original developer was very good. Uh, Frankly, well, way too good for the NFT space, which is why he left
Yeah.
to go back to uh, software development. Um, but he created this contract that was light years ahead of the Metaplex standard. He actually like did some consulting for Metaplex too in building their NFT standard. So he was kind of experimenting on that. And at that time, it was very difficult to mint manually. It was right around the time where mint bots like
Mm,
became dominant. And so there were a lot of people that got into the mint and then realized that like, wow, this technology is great. Like this is actually useful. So the project got a lot of eyes early, and we actually shipped the code over to Monkey Labs, which is probably a trigger word for a lot of people because that was a quite polarizing project back in the day. Um,
I remember. Yeah, I had
yeah,
one.
so I know where it was like, everyone's going to use this and mint with it, and then there's passive income to the NFTs that they had. Very uh, concept at the time that was not super well known how it would turn out, which it turned out pretty poorly, unfortunately. Um, but
I thought
yeah,
you
it's
guys
sort
were
of
connected actually. No,
in some
but
ways
in
we
the
like
launch.
sold them the code and like all the Sphinx owners got to mint it, but it was kind of botched and
Okay.
really there was one team member who left early on who knew the Monkey Labs team and sort of connected, but it was like it got botched in the end. Um, and back to the original question, like that was quite difficult as a new manager of that project to sort of sort through.
Yeah,
But
but because normally to manage what is hard normally is to manage the community expectations, right? Also, like for floor prices and prices of tokens, but the community expectation normally is what kind of drives a project down or up, depends on
yeah,
on what
absolutely. Like
happens.
that was it. Like the price of the NFTs was basically determined how how good and how much praise you got as a community founder, or how many death threats you got. um,
Sure.
so it's back in those days that was like bread and butter. I mean, even like if you think back to like the D gods days and their run up and decline, like everything comes back to the price of the underlying asset.
Yeah, exactly. And that actually is one of the questions that I had for you is like for the audience that was not here in 2021 and 22, how crazy it was in your perspective. I know I was there, but I want to hear your perspective. How crazy it was, like the NFT boom, let's say. Or,
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think so. I came definitely on the later end of it. I think it was way crazier on like Ethereum in like 2020 and 21,
Mhm.
like the Bored Ape Yacht Club days and like the Doodles days and all of that. Definitely crazy. And the Solana scene got like the latter half of that. So I think sort of the crazy part was these some of the assets like the early D gods art, like the do you remember like Trippin' Apes, like good was it Great Goats? Like some of the
Yeah,
projects
that
like
was.
actually had art that was less than desirable. Like or it was only desirable because it was expensive, I would say. Like the D
In
gods
the
2, I think
there was
actually had a better. Yeah, right. So it's sort of like this I don't know, as someone who came into a project because I liked the art and we have like a pixel art design and some of them are GIFs actually. It's pretty cool. But I came into the space because I liked collecting some of the art and I actually was buying and selling like some of the art projects on like uh, shoot, what were some of the platform names?
no
Um
exchange art or Solana art
yeah,
or
yeah, exactly. Like
there
like
was
some of
another
like
one
the
too,
art
right?
focused stuff. Like I
Uh,
have a lot of digital art, like a small collection. So it was kind of weird to see the
mm.
prices on some NFTs that were just like, dude, like this doesn't look like anything that I'd want to own or show to someone else or even have in my wallet. Um, I think that was the
But
craziest part because I think the hype cycle aspect, we've seen the same thing in meme coins this cycle. Like that
yeah,
that
yeah,
sort of
it's the same
underlying
thing.
thing is not that crazy.
It's just uh, you have more. It's a more liquid asset, the meme coins, right? Because you can buy one coin or thousand coins, while the NFTs you have to buy one NFT, right? If the NFT costs, I don't know, 10 Solana, you cannot buy a fraction of that. While the coins you can buy fractions, so it's a bit more. I don't know. Accepts everyone, let's say, regardless of your wallet size,
Oh yeah, I
in a
mean,
way.
so I would definitely consider the meme coin eras, like say like from late 23, early 24 to like where it is now, as like a natural extension of the NFT trading market. I don't think that the participants really changed all that much. Like it's the same sort of initial hype.
Mm,
There's early buyers, people that got early access. It's the same sort of selling a bigger dream than maybe the project actually is in some ways. You know, I don't think that that sort of gambling ever changed. It just switched to a better asset, right? Meme coins are easier to buy and sell, easier to manage, way more liquid,
exactly.
like you said. So, in some ways, like I consider the meme coin era as a natural progression of the NFT era. I mean, in some ways, they're a lot of the same, right? The same traders, the same owners, the same founders. You know, the tokens and
Yeah,
the
but
NFTs are kind of all the same.
yeah, I would. I don't know. Logically, I would think that the progression would be the other way around, right? You start with meme coins, and then you want something a bit more exclusive, and then we would go to NFTs, right? But
Yeah.
we had some meme coins before NFTs, but was not the same hype as now, right? And we have pump.fun. It is so. I think the technology also helps, right? Drive which meta is happening because now we can. It's so easy to mint one new coin, right?
Oh yeah.
While
But
back then was very hard.
there's no barrier to entry now to creating a coin like there was in 2021 or 2022 even. Like we had some difficulty like adding and creating liquidity in our tokens for the project when we created them. Um, and then they sort of kind of just died because, why would you trade these things in 2023?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been the big development is self-supported and launchpad liquidity for meme coins. Like that was basically the biggest development this cycle, I would think.
I want to do a little a bridge now because you mentioned that you were on in NFTs because you like to collect the art. But I
Mhm,
know kind of your background in real life, and I would assume that would be because of the financial speculation
mhm.
that you could do. But then you said that it's because of the art. So that was the main reason you started or you entered the NFT world, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, I think like a lot of people, I entered in 2021, and it was around the time where I graduated from college and I got a job and had some, liquidity on my hands for the first time. So, and in that time period, it was very exciting. Like there was a lot of grand ideas about what these tokens and NFTs and new, asset classes could be, right? If you think back to the metaverse, how it was such this huge idea that like, we'll start doing office space in the metaverse and you'll own a plot of land next to
Yeah,
Mark
yeah, yeah.
Zuckerberg. Like, I think that whole era had these huge delusions of grandeur, maybe, of what it could be. So it was very easy to look at it and say, hey, I need to be in this space. I need to be trading this. I need to be staking my
Experience it,
claim in
right?
this. Yeah, exactly. So, and it was very, it was all over Twitter, it was all over the news cycles. Like, so it was very easy to get brought into that as someone in that age range, you know, looking to buy and sell some stuff. Like, that's kind of how I got started. And with some of the early introduction to crypto, like, I did some research and I think to some ways I got lucky to be in Solana because I kind of just chose one that I thought was cool. It turned out that
Okay.
Solana was,
Was the
I
cool
still think it's better than Ethereum in a lot of ways, even if both may be necessary for the crypto space. So I think just got lucky by happening to be in the Solana space in 22, and then it naturally all fell from there. But I definitely, coming from a finance background, definitely helped me sort of put crypto as an asset class into a broader portfolio of what I owned.
Do you think that your financial background helped you not lose so much money, let's say, or I don't know if you lost money or made, but it helped you kind of have a more risk management, or was the same? You think you lost money as like everyone else?
I mean, I was definitely new to the space, and yeah, my first Solana buys were like in 2021 when it was like $200. So I definitely lost money to the start just because of that.
Yes, I converted a lot of BTC into Solana at that time. But, yeah,
Exactly.
my Coinbase
But
yield says that I made X amount in revenue and profits, and I'm like, where is that profit? I don't know. Anyway,
I never saw that. But yeah, like coming from a finance background, sort of, I mean, it definitely helps because you sort of understand risk management and maybe some of the trading aspects in some ways, like understanding when to buy, when to sell, maybe. But a lot of that is you have to learn it
okay.
on boots on the ground in the crypto space. Like,
Yeah, of course.
it's not that you could take those skills and necessarily translate it. Like it is a different arena with different players, and you
It
can't
moves much
really.
faster, right? I assume
Oh yeah.
than any market. Gold, silver, stocks is like
Oh yeah. I mean,
like
if you are a good crypto trader and you can sort of understand narratives and when to buy and sell, like that is so much of an easier playground in equities, other assets than crypto. I think crypto is probably the hardest to consistently make money if you're just starting
you
out.
think it's easier to do go from crypto to anything else than coming from outside even financial world and go into crypto
I think that
as a trader, let's say.
yeah, the way that coins move, that narrative switch, everything that's happening in crypto seems to happen 2 to 3 times faster than, anything in the traditional financial world. So whether or not you can make the switch kind of depends, but you will never see things move as fast in, for example, like a single name equity than you would in a meme coin. So,
Hmm.
definitely cutting your teeth in the hardest arena makes it easier to go back to the easier ones.
Yeah, okay. And also the chance of being rugged or scammed here it's so big that you
Right.
probably don't get this kind of situation outside. I was funny. I was listening to some another podcast, and they were saying it's impossible to compare the crypto world when where you have a TGE straight away or a
Hmm.
IPO back in the day uh, with with the normal S&P or whatever, because what happens here is that they were saying, imagine if every company that starts starts straight away on the stock market, and it's more like the same thing, right?
Yeah.
For sure, those companies wouldn't survive, right? If they
Hmm.
start straight away on the stock market, just they just were just founded. So right, it's very hard like to manage that in terms of again the price dictates everything, like NFT price, floor price, or the meme coin price, regardless of the technology or what is behind or who is the dev or the future plans. The price, sadly, it is the most important. I think, my
Yeah.
perspective. Uh,
No, yeah, exactly right. I agree.
I wanted to ask, in terms of like background, you spoke about finance. Why did you decided to, I don't know if you study it or if you just got a job there and then you became your career, but why the finance world? Why not electrician or I don't know, whatever,
Yeah,
Uber
I mean
driver?
it's
Whatever.
right.
Why?
Exactly. So I yeah, I went to school for economics and that translated into the finance world. Uh I always liked the puzzle slash game of what trading is. I think that so I had a one of my grandparents, my grandfather was someone who liked to invest, someone who liked to trade equities, and he got
Rockefeller.
yeah, he got my brother and I involved at a young age. So I had like a brokerage account. I had like a teen brokerage account at like 13, and I
Okay.
just played around with it for a bit. But Yeah, I also like I this is kind of a funny story. I played a lot of FIFA when I was a kid, Ultimate Team, and I kind of almost gravitated towards less of like playing the game, but more of like just trading the cards
Yeah,
on the
managing. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. I would like buy and sell packs and like trade like some of the legend cards. Like I was doing more of I found I was doing more of that than actually like playing FIFA. And it just seems like some people are wired from a young age to like enjoy the game aspect of it, right? Because in some ways it is the ultimate game, like when you're playing with markets and how they interact with each other and like physical capital rather than imaginary money. Like the stakes are really high, and I always
mhm.
gravitated towards places with high stakes. I think that's also probably why I got into crypto. um,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I can
It
see
just
the comparison between the FIFA and like the NFT world. You would get you would mint and then you would get a very rare or just a common, right? And it's kind of funny because I played FIFA as well, so it's I
yeah,
know the feeling to open that
exactly.
and the player that would link perfectly with the other players that you had already in your
Mhm.
team, and you'd be like, "Oh, this guy is perfect." Green link with everyone, beautiful. So
Exactly.
it's
And
like,
like, buying and opening packs is sort of the same as like
yeah,
minting NFTs, right? It's that same sort of like dopamine rush. So
yeah.
very easy transition, I think, from that.
The,
But yeah, like the sorry, go ahead.
no. You continue. Say.
I honestly didn't. I didn't have any. I was just gonna ramble. Um,
Um, Now I just wanted to ask, do you think we're gonna have another rise of the NFT scene, let's say, or do you mainly think this is was it?
uh, that's a tough question. I think that the outside of the space, the general perception is sort of that these are like worthless or scams. And I think it's very easy to look at the NFT space and say, this has been passed over, like it was a hype cycle that is dead. Who would buy these assets now? Um, and in some ways, that probably is true. I think that the original like way that the NFT space was set up of trading, buying and selling, like it never really felt like there was a good like balance of incentives between the community and people who wanted to trade. I think a lot of the time was spent trying to bootstrap liquidity for traders while also making sure that community members felt like they weren't just holding onto assets that were going to zero to be worthless eventually. Um, so it never really felt like that caught the right balance. Meme coins also in the same way haven't really found that right balance. Maybe a little bit better, but I think that the idea of owning assets that are emotional to you still exists. Like there are people buying and selling Pokemon cards, baseball cards, collectibles. I think that the collectible aspect is the greatest strength, and that it definitely could come back around, but maybe in a different way.
Okay, we need a new mentality, maybe a recycled one.
Exactly. Or a new meta or just some
Yeah,
new way to work with them. I don't know. I think that in some ways like CryptoPunks will always be collectibles. I think that something like that
mm,
is as long as crypto is still around, like they will be desirable. What the 99% of other NFTs may not be. I think like some historical provenance there makes a lot of sense to collect.
yeah.
So if they ever become hot again, that could kickstart an NFT cycle again. I think something like that would make more sense.
Can
But
you call NFTs that cost 100K a collectible? Or I don't know, right? Seems a
right,
bit of a statement, right? Because a collectible is something everyone can collect, right?
right,
Okay,
right. Yeah, it's almost like
but
a
I don't know.
rare.
It's so funny. I
Yeah,
just,
I know what you mean. They're definitely not very attainable for a large number of people, and I think in some ways like that maybe makes them a bit more desirable. I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah,
could be.
can they be a luxury good? In some ways, maybe. Um, that would be what I
Yeah,
think is would kickstart the next NFT run. Would be something like that.
So you think that we need to start from the top, right? The main collection starting to be appealing again, and then we go on the pyramid. Where do we start? So we need to it needs to start from above, right? From punks and Board Yacht Club, like it happens with the coins. It starts with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then we have that escalating for all the coins below, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I would say much the same way. Like, and that's sort of where we are now, I think, in crypto is that we're through the Bitcoin adoption cycle, I would call it, the ETFs being public, this, the Trump administration championing it, and then that them getting into power, and it was this whole like, oh, this is going to be mainstream again, and now we're kind of at a point where I don't know if it's mainstream again, you know, but it all starts from the top, right? All of crypto starts from Bitcoin and
Mm.
trickles down. So yeah, that's kind of where I would think it would need to be.
Do you think that we still have? Because I heard that since like Wall Street is now buying Bitcoin ETFs, they turned Bitcoin in like a financial asset,
Hmm.
not just a coin, right? So they can uh, like you can loan against it. So okay, Bitcoin is finite, right? But with being a financial asset, it becomes infinite, right? It can be loaned against it like forever.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It loses the fact that is finite in a way. I don't know. What is your perspective about that? It's a bit a strange concept.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I think that the what we're running into now is that the Bitcoin ETFs have made it very easy to trade it, have made it very easy to own it. There are a lot of firms doing a carry trade, where you are long spot and then selling perps or selling, calls against it in order to pick up a premium. Um, there's a lot of people trading it, and it's to the point where Bitcoin always sort of existed and it grew so much because there were always new people to buy it. It was always a marginal buyer. Now I don't know if there's a new marginal buyer that's big enough outside of like Michael Saylor maybe to move it all that much. You know, it's gotten to a point where it's so entrenched in the financial world now that there may not be a new market to grow it to new heights just yet. So I think that's kind of where we are in this cycle is that
The big
it's
accumulation zone.
yeah, right. There's people that are, everyone that has wanted to buy it from 2023 to 2025 through now has, and we're struggling to find new marginal buyers or new narratives for it to go up.
So you think this I don't know, this at least this year it's gonna be down or at least sideways.
It kind of
You
just
see?
depends.
Or,
Currently, I don't know if there's a new narrative. There's a lot going on in the U.S. with tariffs and the headline risk. There's just a lot that is affecting risk assets as a whole, equities, bonds, crypto. And it just feels like we're at a point where we need to take a break and rest a bit. I don't know if it will have exponential growth this year. I don't also think that there may not be exponential decline. It's
mm,
so when you get more liquidity and the ETFs have created a ton of liquidity, things tend to trade slower. So I think that Bitcoin will just trade less volatile through the next year or so until we find like a new narrative. So there may not be a ton of downside, there may not be a ton of upside. Obviously with Bitcoin that can change at any moment. So
yeah.
we're sort of just in a waiting game.
Why do you think there was this, let's say, depegging from all the other, like let's say, risk-on assets like stocks and like even gold, silver, like everything went up a lot, and
Mhm.
while the crypto world just went down actually.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question, and that requires like knowing a lot more about the markets than I do even. That requires like really drilling down at the core of a lot of different things. But I think that we maybe front ran a lot of that, and from the bottom in 23 and the FTX scandal, like crypto was, you know, seen as a larger risk than other assets, so it had more to rebound. I think it was the 2022 bear was deeper even than other risk assets, so we just had a lot more
Mhm.
to gain back through that period.
Okay.
I
So
think
we
we
kind
sort
of
of front
front
ran
run
all of
it.
it.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
okay, makes sense. But
Um,
the theory is the opposite, right? Everyone says that we just follow all the other ones. So they say now, oh, gold went up a lot, so we must be going up at some point now because we just follow them. So it's so
right.
funny. There's so many theories, and then none of them is correct, and we lose money every time.
Yeah.
um, how do you make your decisions in terms of portfolio allocation? Like when you analyze the market, you go by whatever, like RSI, market sentiment, or just see the you do the 4 years like everyone else and see, oh, we are just reaching the last month of that final year, and then let me sell because this is not gonna go up anymore.
Right. My portfolio is very basic. A lot of index funds, a lot of
Mhm.
I don't trade like single name equities really. It's a lot of just like set and forget because it's easy. And then I have my fun in the crypto world, and I do a little bit of gambling and other things like sports betting or stuff like that to add some risk. Um, but primarily for crypto, it was very long term. I like to buy near bear market bottoms, and I think it's pretty easy. You can kind of get a sense. Like I think FTX was also one of the ones where it's like, hey, like if this industry is not going to zero, there's a lot of upside in the future. So I
Yeah.
did some buying through 22, 23, and then some selling through 2025. I through the project we had a treasury that I was managing, and we did decently well in 23 and 24, and I um we dispersed a lot of the treasury back to the holders as a sort of thank you for being owners of our NFTs for the past couple years. And it was sort of like a closing period on the project in some ways. The project still exists, but that was very much like, hey, we want to do something for you guys. But yeah, it's not something where I'm like actively trading or using indicators or trying to scalp trades. It's very much like a yeah. When I think that Bitcoin is undervalued, maybe if it gets to like 50,000 sub 60, I'll probably buy some and just kind of
Okay.
wait and see what happens. Because I do think that it as an asset is important to the broader financial picture. I don't think it's going to disappear in any ways. So
Mhm.
I'll probably look for a bottom to try to buy some more and just sit on it and see what happens.
Yeah, and if you think, as I heard this on a podcast as well, like that the world tends to be even more digital in the future, right?
Hmm.
Why there's value here, right? If you
Yeah.
think about that, right? It's so if it doesn't go to zero, it goes to 1 million is what they normally say. So you think that this is where you start looking at buying, maybe not at 68 or whatever we are now, but around these areas, and if it goes a little bit down, you start thinking of moving USDC there.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of like, I'm not targeting any specific thing. I'm just sort of waiting to a point where I feel there's deep value, and I probably will buy a little bit around these range if we stay here for another couple months. It's a piece of my portfolio that I'll always own, um, and I don't think there's any need to like rush into buying or rush into selling even. The
Because you
way
have
that these
you have
assets
time.
trade, yeah, exactly. You'll have so much time to yeah, you're never going to really miss out if you act rashly.
Yeah, and also you don't want to catch a falling knife, right? Is what they say. You don't want to. Oh, okay, it's coming down so much. Oh, let me buy now. But then you don't know. Maybe it's going even. It's gonna go even below whatever you bought, right? So maybe you prefer to let it stabilize. See, okay, so we're gonna stay here, and then after this start DCAing. Maybe I don't know. I'm just I'm just guessing. I never do that, so just listen to my advice, but don't do what they do because it's not good. So yeah, so if you would start buying at some point, which assets would you buy in the crypto world, of course?
Yeah, so I would definitely buy Bitcoin. I think every portfolio that's in crypto has to have Bitcoin. I would definitely still be buying Solana. I think that it
Mhm.
is the fastest horse and the best technology that we have when it comes to smart contracts. And yeah, I don't see a world where I would own Ethereum unless something radically changed. Unfortunately, I don't. I mean, I
I
think
have a
with
lot
this
of
past
Ethereum,
cycle
so
too
that's
is
that's
also
it's sad.
no, it's look, it is value, and I think that if you're going to be like looking for a balanced crypto portfolio, Ethereum should be in it, just because it's still the second largest platform
Yeah.
and chain, and there's value there still. But I would probably be looking for a new fast runner in a new crypto bull market. This cycle was clearly the Solana cycle. There's probably something that could come around and eat Solana's lunch, whether that's Monad, whether that's one of these other
Okay.
new L2s. I don't know. I think that it's for as difficult as it is maybe to select the winners. I think it's also quite easy to tell. Like I think it was pretty easy to tell that Solana was actually a legitimate contender to Ethereum in 22 and 23 if you were like deeply aware of what was going on. So I think that at some point there might be a new chain that would do that. I'm going to continue to keep trying new things and researching new stuff in the crypto space, but currently I don't think there is a contender yet.
Then, apart from L1s and L2s or blockchains in this case, has any
Right.
projects that you think like, okay, I would buy this, or I don't know,
Uh,
Texas, or I don't know,
at the at,
Hyperliquid. Everyone's talking about that, so I'm not sure.
I do think Hyperliquid currently has the best moat, but it's perp decks. There's not a whole ton of like they depend so much on volume of trading. And if we go into
Of
a
course.
deeper bear market, like there may not be that much trading. I would probably own some hype in if I thought that we were going into the next bull market in 6 to 12
Okay.
months.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I was buying a lot of GLP as well from Jupiter
mhm,
because I was actually a nice trade. I done like, I don't know, 5x, and was low
mhm.
risk because was pegged with, I don't know, the liquidity, the profits they were making on the decks. I don't even understand
Yeah.
it, but
Well, yeah,
I know that.
exactly. Well, it's just right when you were basically owning an index fund that was supported by trading
Exactly.
profits of the underlying platform, which is great. Like that sort of asset is so much easier to own, and it's a lot similar to assets in the traditional equities world. So that those sorts of projects are probably bread and butter of a stable crypto portfolio, which is where hype is. So I do think that you probably want to own Bitcoin, Solana, type, Ethereum. You want to own the winners because the winners will outperform.
Yeah, as the problem is that we don't know which ones are the winners sometimes.
Right, easier
Uh,
said than done.
yeah, exactly. Because like, if you think what you said is like Solana is the winner because the tech is actually good and there's so much community and everything. But then you look at XRP that is way above in terms of market cap in Solana, and what do they have, like, right? Even
Yeah,
Cardano and other tokens that and not criticizing because I even hold some of them. So uh,
right.
as an edge too, because we don't know what's, like you said, we don't know which is going to be the horse that's going to win, right? It's important to edge a little bit on other things that are similar with the ones we think that's going to win, but we never know, right?
Right. Yeah,
So
you can own everything in crypto. Like you don't need to be a backseat of one or the other. Like just buy everything and then if one of them wins, you're gonna win with it. Very easy to put aside your criticisms of other projects, and in order to actually understand what they do, you probably need to own it. So very easy to just own everything and you know sort of
a
create like
little
a
bit more.
broad-based index.
You in your, because you mentioned more or less that you prefer a smaller portfolio, smaller in terms of diversification or a bigger portfolio? What is your
It kind of
you
depends.
prefer like portfolio?
I don't know if there's a set uh like ratio that I would say. I would just want to own the assets that I felt were good. You know, if I only liked three or four coins or chains, like I would own them. If I liked 20, I would own all 20.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
Definitely think that Bitcoin should be, if not the largest, like the your biggest holding, because that is the basis of our industry. But it kind of just depends.
Wanted to ask you, going back to the NFTs and specifically your project. At the moment, like NFTs are a bit on a standby, right? In general, all of
Mhm.
them, if the big ones as well. Um, there's any plan or anything that you would like to do with the project in the future if things pick up again, or what is the what would be the
Yeah, I mean,
plan?
we would definitely want to. I mean, so the project is not. It's dormant in some ways. So like we still own all the assets. Our holders still own the assets, and there's still 10 to 15 people that are in there every day talking to each other. It's still a tight knit community, but we're sort of just custodying the assets until we want to use them. Um, what that might look like in the future, I don't really know, but we're sort of saving them in some way for a future purpose, and like all the holders still want to own the assets. So we haven't really had an issue with people coming in and asking us, "Hey, what's the plan?" Because I've outlined that, like, "Hey, we're just hanging out, we're having a good time, we are thinking and talking about the crypto space here still, but we're just sort of waiting for the future."
That's kind of what NFTs actually should have or should be in the first place. It's just a community, a group of people that have a shared interest on something, and they, I don't know, hang.
Right.
But yeah, things became a bit a bit
In
wild.
some ways,
Let's say.
we hyper financialize them. In some ways, I think maybe it shouldn't have always been this, like, you can own this asset and it will make 5% for you in tokens or project
Yeah, yeah,
buybacks
yeah.
or launch pads. Like, maybe we did too much with them and it should have just been about owning them in the art. But
Yeah, the other thing you said is like, I think, in my perspective, I don't like to burn NFTs, regardless if it's a scam, rug, whatever, because I
mhm,
think all I can always look at them and think it's a learning, right? So you look at them like, oh, I got scammed there. I should have know better, or don't know the future. Someone can uh, buy that project, and those NFTs can become something again, right? So
yeah,
I don't know. We have to wait for the future. We are assuming that everything is dead, but everything was dead also in 2017, 18, 19, and then things came back. So I don't know. Can
yeah,
happen. So I'm not sure.
exactly. I definitely agree. I've only got a couple more minutes here, so maybe we do one more question and then I'll have to head out.
Um, are you excited about anything in particular in crypto in general, or are you pretty bearish?
I don't think it's bearish. I wouldn't say that's necessarily the right term. I think that we're at a point where do we sort of shed the excesses of the meme coin era in some ways. Like there was a hyper gambling that came with that. And I think that I'm excited for this period to get that out of our system and sort of focus back on projects and development and, sort of where do we go from here rather than just being the super extractive meta. I think that's
Hmm.
what I'd be excited for is finally able to research new projects and think about new chains and new ideas and get down to the basics of it rather than just being chasing meme coins and needing to feel like that I need to gamble my way into it. I think that sort of position is where I do best, is having some time to sit and think about these assets and study the next things that are coming up in the space.
Yeah, more fundamentals, less fundamentals, right?
Exactly.
Uh,
And
we
the
lost a
space
lot of
is
the fundamentals, to be honest. They said, but
Oh yeah, I mean the space is also nicer too when there's less people here. I think a tighter
Mm,
knit community in crypto is better. You know, a lot of the people that come in during the peaks of bull markets are not here because they like it or enjoy the space. They're just here to make money.
yeah,
And
that's
shedding those people helps us get back to our roots.
makes sense. I just wanted to ask. I wanted to ask this to any guest that we have, but the
Mhm.
direction of the conversation always goes somewhere else. If you could choose someone to be our next guest, uh, which one we should invite or try to? I don't know. Someone that you would be like, oh, I would love to see an interview with this person.
Oh, I got to think.
That's that's a tough one.
No, it's okay. Um,
Can
I
be
think
crypto,
that
can be finance. I don't know, whatever.
I would like to hear. I mean, you said you have some of the guys from SMB coming on. I'm excited for that. I think some more of the older project owners, like maybe like
Mm,
Geckos or I forget some of the other ones, but like some of those older owners are good to hear from because I like to hear what they're still doing in the space, you know, from our era of the NFT world. So maybe someone
yeah,
like that,
makes
but
sense.
I don't have a name in mind.
Okay, yeah, okay, that's fair enough. Okay, thank you so much for being here, taking the time,
Of
and it
course.
was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Oh no, I really enjoyed this. I'll have to come back on in the future, hopefully. Um,
Perfect.
maybe when we have a little
Always,
more
always a
time.
pleasure.
Of
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much.
course. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great day.